Right, winter camouflage, the whitewash effect. It's what was used primarily when Luftwaffe aircraft were moved to the Eastern Front. So I'm going to show you how I did this. And where you need to be to do this is you will have done your paint work, all complete. You'll have put a gloss coat on, put your decals on, and then a second gloss coat just to seal the decal in. Now after that, I know we would go to a wash to get the panel lines nice and black, but because we're doing this whitewash, it really isn't necessary to do that, because the whitewash will find its way into all the panels as it would have done on the real aircraft, and brushed on here, there and everywhere. It was also quite uneven. There wasn't an even coat finish to it. You had patches where it was quite white, and a lot of patches where the camouflage was still quite visible. It's sort of a late campaign where the whitewash is beginning to come off and the camouflage is showing through. So we'll get on and show you how I did it. Now, as well as the sanding sponge and the hairdryer is concerned, the main ingredient is this. Now, I'll try and get it up to the camera so you can see it. It's Tamiya X21 flat base. It needs thinning, and what I've done is I've pre-thinned this already in the jar with roughly 2 parts flat base to 1 part water. If you use an acrylic thinner, it would do exactly the same thing, but again, a ratio of 2 parts flat base to 1 part thinner should be fine. And we'll get this on the wing and show you how it works. So get your flat base on, work from leading edge to the trailing edge, so your airflow, following the airflow I should say, as it would run over the wing. And don't worry about how much you're doing, just make sure that you've got a good coat across the wing, like so. And now we'll go to the hairdryer. Okay, so as you can see, that's how it dries out when you get the hairdryer on it. You can see that the brushing has more or less stayed with airflow. So now we want to just lighten it up a bit as we have on this wing. And that's where a very high grit sanding sponge comes in. This is Tamiya Sanding Sponge 3000 grit. It's been well used, but they smooth down and they do last quite a long time. And all we're going to do is maybe start on the leading edge here and just start to take some of this off very, very gently, because obviously the wear would begin on the leading edge given, you know, in flight. So we do that, and then you can just patch out really randomly as you want to, anywhere down the middle. Just run some patches in like so, just really to take it back to a more worn look, something like that. I mean, I'm doing this quite quickly. Obviously you can take your time and do it. You see we've got quite a blob here on the end, but if we just sand it very quickly, we can more or less get rid of that blob. And you know, nice clean patch on there, a little bit off the elevators, a little bit off the flap, like so. And you see more or less now that's beginning to take shape. With a dry brush, just brush off the excess dust. As you can see, it is quite dusty, so we just want to get that off completely, like so. Now, the other thing that they did is they painted around the black cross and the insignia markings. So what we're going to do is take a cotton bud and we're going to get it wet, and we just clean off the black cross. Give it a good old rub, and just a little bit around the edge, and then with the dry end, give it a rub. Sorry if you can't see this, but I'm sure you get the general idea. Like so. Nice and dry, get it nice and dry. Like that. Get another cotton bud. Go through these things at a rate of knots. And again, dry it back. The white will dry back. It's surprising you can put liquid on this and it appears to disappear, but as soon as it starts drying, the white does come back. So you need to work around and just clean up your decal to give the impression that they had when they painted around it. The other thing is where you've got an accumulation in here, in the flap, just with a cocktail stick, just clean it out. Same with the elevator there and the front wing extension. Just clean it out so you can see generally how that works. So there we are, we're pretty much done. But what we need to do is we need to protect that. So what we're going to do now is get a satin wash on there, a satin coat on there, just to help to seal it all in. Okay, satin wash, I use the Vallejo satin varnish. You can use your satin varnish of choice, of course. This works quite well. It needs to be well diluted, so I kind of mix some in a jar and again dilute with water, and it's going to last you quite a long time. So we'll just get this mixed up and we'll get the satin varnish onto, so just get this on there. It's probably going to need 2 if not 3 coats of satin just to bed it all in, but I'm just doing this one now. And what we'll do is pop back to the hairdryer just to speed things up a little bit, get that dry, and we'll see how that pans out. So I'm just going to take you off to the hairdryer zone, 1 second. And get that satin coat dry, and lo and behold, you see that the winter camouflage is coming back. Okay, I'm going to put a couple more coats on and I'll come back to you when that's pretty much done. I've put another second coat of satin on there, hairdryer, but even with the hairdryer, what I would advise is that you leave it alone for 20 minutes, half an hour, so that the satin dries completely through. You can see now that we've more or less achieved the effect that we're looking for. And as I said earlier, you know, when it comes to sanding this down, you can sand off as little or as much as you want, depending on the finish that you're looking for. So there it is. Okay, thanks, and maybe post another video again soon. Cheers.